13 years. Friendships and homework, the guidance of teachers, pep rallies, football games, and lunches have all brought me here. My life is just beginning. Have I made my family proud? Will I make the right choices? I am nervous, but excited for the next chapter. The great unknown stretches out before me, and I must discover who I am meant to be.
Ladies and gentlemen, introducing your host for today's Real People, Real Stories, your pastor, Frank Worthington!
I asked for an introduction. I didn't know I was going to get all that. But anyway, welcome, hey, to the Dr. Frank Show this morning. We're glad that you joined us. Anyway, it's good to see everybody this morning at Compassion Sykeston. Hey, turn over to one of your peeps and say, oh, you look so good today.
You look like 30 years ago.
I probably should have looked around real quick to make sure I didn't have two guys sitting side by side, because that might get a little awkward. Anyway, all righty, we're glad that you chose to be here with us today. You could have chosen to be anywhere else in the world at 10:45 today, but you chose to show up, worship the Lord, and hang out with us here at Compassion because we have a lot of fun. Hey, real quick before we dive into stuff, I want Gary and Charlene and any if they got something to show off, and I want them to come up here real quick. And if the rest of the crew wants to come with you, Daniel and boys and your daughter and son-in-law, they want to come up here, they got something they want to show off, and I need a microphone. Does somebody have one? All righty. Come on up, Gary. Hello. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. Well, let's see. They got something, a bundle of joy here that they want to show off. This is little Nathan, and Nathan is how old? 7 weeks. 7 weeks. Now, hey, the neat thing about it is they traveled the farthest to get here today for the service. They traveled the farthest. Now, this is your Charlene's daughter, and you are? Shondell. Joe. And Joe. And little Nathan, they traveled all the way from Guam. Over 7,000 miles to come to church. So I don't want to ever hear any excuse, well, it was just a hard drive for me to get there. But anyway, Grandma's kind of proud, can you tell? I mean, she's not just grandpa out of the way. It's like, oh, I don't know, I got to, anyway. But anyway, this bundle of joy just a few months ago was given to us, and it's just a joy. And I knew that she'd want to show them off, and good to have the whole family, Daniel and the boys. Come on out here, you okay, it's okay. No, but anyway. Their son Daniel, he didn't travel quite as far, but he did came all the way from Marion. Not Marion, Carbondale. So just a little piece up the road. But anyway, Daniel, we're glad to have you, the boys here. Glad to have them all here. Hey, they wanted to show off grandbaby. So we always so we got grandbabies connected all over the place. So anyway, we're Elizabeth's in the nursery. Okay, so anyway, awesome. Give them a big hand. Thank you guys for being here. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, anyway, boy, we had a great first service. We got some exciting testimonies that we want to share with you guys this morning. Some real stories. We're entering our series called Real People's Real Stories. Everybody has one. I said everybody has one. It's just some of us are willing to tell it. The others are trying to hide behind it. Amen. Hello. And today we're talking about real struggles, real hope. Now, by the way, let me recognize somebody else over here, Pastor Mike and Kay Davis, sitting right here. Woo! Way down. They are right now serving as interims in our Compassion location in Jackson, Tennessee. And when Elisa came up and said they were here, I said, what in the world are they doing here? They're supposed to be in Jackson, Tennessee. Well, they're actually on vacation, and somebody else is covering them in Jackson, Tennessee. They're on their way to St. Louis. I think they're going to the ball game tonight. Anyway, Cardinals! Oh, Cardinals! Are you a Cardinals? I speak to are you a Cubs fan? No, we wouldn't have red on. Yeah, red. But they said, we want to just stop by and just check out what's going on at Compassion in Sykeston. And so we're glad they did. And when he walked in, he said, there's a lot of energy going on around here. I said, hey, that's what we're all about, baby. Thank you for being here with us and enjoy the game and whatever else y'all are doing up in the big city. Many of you know that this past week I got a little puny after I left here Sunday. And I'll leave it at that. But it lasted about 48 hours. And I learned a few things during that time. A few observations. One is that brown eggs don't peel quite as good as white eggs do. Because about Tuesday afternoon, when I finally thought I might want something to eat, I thought, you know what? A hard-boiled egg might be okay. So I go up there and I boil me some eggs and I wait. I did the ice cube thing trick and all that, put in there, get them cold real fast. I mean, they just tore my eggs all up. So I realized, okay, from now on, don't try the brown egg. Second thing is that you might, if you notice anything a little bit weird today about me. They say you are what you eat, and I ate a whole week's worth of chicken soup. Then the third thing is that somebody felt sorry for me along the way and brought me a miracle working pill called the suppository. And I will testify, they work wonders. But swallowing those things is the most difficult thing. It's bad. They at least ought to make them fruit flavored or something. Somebody write that down. Write that down. New invention. Kiwi flavored suppository. No. All jokes aside, we like to have fun here. That's okay.
Amen.
Amen. What we're talking about today is real. We're talking about real struggles, real hope. There's one thing that, and I shared this for the first service, I want to share with you all. There's one thing in God's eyes, there's nobody that's too messed up, too lost, too low, too far gone, too without hope, that He can't reach down and pick up in their mess and in their struggle. And I'm going to share, I'm going to call up 4 folks that are going to share with you here just a few minutes this morning some of their struggles. Now, some of them, they've overcome their struggles for several years, some just several months. And some you're going to know, some you're not necessarily going to know, but that's okay. They have a story to tell. And just like every one of us in this room have a story to tell, some of us still hiding behind their story. We're not willing to be transparent and open. The reason we can be transparent and open here at Compassion is because we understand the forgiveness, the grace, the mercy, and the love and the forgiveness of the Lord Jesus Christ. And if God forgives and God can cast it away in the sea of forgetfulness, we can do the same thing. So we're not going to judge, we're not going to criticize, we're not going to say, oh wow, I didn't know you went through that. And that causes us to look at anybody any different, because we look through the eyes of grace, love, and acceptance of Jesus Christ, and we look at each other as equals. There's none of us superior to the other. We've all been saved by the grace of God, and it's all because of the grace of God that we're here today and able to share the goodness of His love and mercy. Amen. So I want to welcome them up real quick. Alan Lancaster, Janice Barber. wherever Janice is, and then two people that you all will recognize, Jenna Duff and Dylan Horn, are going to come up. Give it up for them. Now what's going to happen is, and I told them, I said, hey, we don't have all day. I promised to have y'all out here about 2 o'clock. Is that okay? I'm just kidding. If the person beside you was asleep just a minute ago, said he was just kidding. You see, the world is busy putting everybody down. Traditional church is busy putting everybody down. But while they're trying to put everybody down, we're trying to do what Jesus would do, and we're trying to lift everybody up. Amen. Because that's what he does. He will leave the 99 to go find that one that's broken. He will leave the 99 to go find that one that's hurting. He'll leave the 99 sheep to go find that one that's astray, that's one that's lost, that one that needs him. And that's what Compassion Church is all about. That's why we preach the messages we preach. That's why we play the music that we play. That's why we do the things that we do. It's because our business is to impact this region, this zip code of 23,000 people, of which 18,000 of those people are non-regular church attenders. We have got a mission to accomplish, and that is to take what's in here out there and let them know that it doesn't matter where they've messed up, where they've gone wrong, what they've done, that Jesus is the answer. Right. And he can bring peace and hope like nobody else. But they're going to share. They don't have time to share their whole stories and all of that. And I've heard their stories. I know their stories, incredible stories. But they're going to take a couple minutes each, and they're going to share a little bit about where they've come from and what God's done in their life. And so very first, leading off the way, is the youngest. Anyway, we're not going to get in there. Grandpa Jones. No, I'm just kidding. But Alan Lancaster. So, Alan, share a little bit about your story.
Hello, everybody. First of all, I just want to know that it's hard to get up here and tell things. And just want y'all to know that I come a long way. I was one time in the miry clay. Low as low could get, in my opinion. I was an alcoholic for 25 years or better. I lived in the bars, I chased the women, I've done it all. It's nothing, I'm not bragging about it. I'm up here to help people. I want people to know Jesus Christ. Amen. It's like I come to know him. I've got a little rock in my pocket, but it's a smooth stone. Frank preached on this 2 or 3 weeks ago. We throwed all the sins in that barrel. And this is just a little reminder. I advise everybody to have a little white stone. Because when you think things, do things wrong, you reach down in your pocket, nobody has to know. When you think about that and you say, God, just forgive me, I just go on. But I'm not going to share my whole testimony because it would take forever, and I will one of these days. I've got one thing in my life to be fulfilled, and I ask each and every one of you to pray for me. That'll come to pass, and I can sit up here and tell my whole story. Because it'll blow you out of the water. One thing I want to share is when I got saved, people struggle with drinking. You got to be obedient to God. You got to be truthful with Him. If you're faithful to Him, He'll be faithful to you. And the day I got saved, I asked God to take that away. And the very day I gave my heart to God, He took alcohol away. For good. Period.
Yeah.
Smoking. Smoking was a little different. I know there's a lot of people struggling with smoking. And I want to help you if I can. I'm going to tell you how I stopped. Thank God for good neighbors. You know, the Bible speaks of good neighbors. Neighbor come up to me and he said, Alan, he said, I know you're struggling with smoking. But he said, if you do this one thing, I believe God will help you. And I said, I'll do anything. If you really want to quit smoking. He said, you take your cigarette before you light it up. You hold it up and you look up and you say, God, I plead the blood of Jesus on this cigarette before I light it. And I promise you, you won't smoke too many after that, if you're sincere with God. So I'll leave the rest for later. Thank you for listening.
Well, he shared that overcoming those two struggles, and those are two, alcoholism and smoking. There again, we're not telling you that smoking is going to send you to hell. It just make you smell like you already been there. But what it does is it kills and destroys the temple of the Holy Spirit. So every time you take a puff off of that cigarette, you're taking minutes off of your life that you'll be able to enjoy with your family, your friends, your loved ones, and those around you. And then you also want to be careful that every time you do something that somebody else sees you do it and they're saying, well, you know, hey, I can do that. You're encouraging that habit that's destroying their lives. So we want to be as much of a light and an influence as we possibly can of living that free life in Jesus Christ, a delivered life through Jesus Christ. Janice, Barbara, share a little bit about what's your story?
Well, I used to be a meth addict years ago.
Used to be a Methodist?
Methodist. Was that a problem?
Was that a Methodist meth addict? I'm just kidding. I'm just messing with you. I've got it all off track. I still did be quiet.
That's a problem. Years ago, I'd say 19 years ago, I started, actually, since I was running around as kids, you know, partying a lot. And then you do one thing, and then you want to try another thing, and then another thing, and then next thing you know, you're up all night, 24/7, a couple days a week. Couple days during the week, sorry. And then, and before you know it, you're pretty much addicted. I just thought I was doing it for fun, having a good time. Didn't realize I had a problem. I did hit rock bottom, but that still didn't teach me that I should have covered up. I lost many things in between the time that I was an addict. And then God sent me a gift, and I will never forget that gift ever in my entire life. He sent me a child, and ever since I found out I was pregnant with him, I sobered up, and I've been clean ever since. And he is the most precious thing ever. Sorry, I'm embarrassing you probably now, but anyways. But still, I know he gave me the gift, and I did sober up, but I still struggle every day. Even I raised him on my own, put myself through nursing school. But I still never went to church. I knew I should have, but I just didn't. I was just too much caught up in life and school and just being the best mom that I can be. And then I tried different churches, didn't help or anything. But now I have compassion just about a year ago, and here I am today.
And went to churches off and on, believed in God, never really had a true relationship with Jesus until about a year ago. Is that true? Is that true? Isn't that incredible? Now, the scripture says in James chapter 1, every good and perfect gift is from above. How do you know God gives good gifts? Amen. How do you know God will give you good gifts? Go ahead. God even gives good gifts, and sometimes we don't, most of the time we don't deserve them. But they're good gifts, they're perfect, they come from above, from the Father of lights, with whom there is no variation or shadow of turning. I'm going to embarrass him. I know he'll probably shoot me afterwards. But Devin, stand up a second. Devin, this is Janice's gift that radically changed her life. Devin. Debbie. Thank you, thank you. You see, God has a way of getting our attention. And though at that moment, she may not have radically gave her life wholeheartedly to Jesus Christ, God stepped in a mess and said, hey, I'm going to give you something that's going to cause you to make a life change and a choice and redirect your life in a positive direction. So the blessing of that gift caused her to realize that, hey, something's got to change. And then we're grateful that she found Jesus, all of Jesus she can handle, and compassion, and still getting more every single week. We appreciate her and Daniel and Greg. I didn't see that. Is Daniel again? Oh, he's serving in, they're one of those folks that they'll come and they'll serve a service and set a service, or set a service and serve a service. So he's been running the train. She's been doing the train this morning, and he's serving back in kids ministry. But anyway, we appreciate them. Awesome. Now, a couple people that you don't recognize that are new faces around here. They're guests today. And I always tell people, I always ask them, do you have a home church? And if they say no, I say, well, you do now. So anyway, Beth Keller kind of introduced me to Jenna and to Dylan. And so I've asked them to come over today and share a little bit of their story, of where they've been. And Alan has been delivered for how many years? 28 years. She's been delivered for 16 years. These guys have been in the struggle and just recently have overcome. And so, Jenna Dodd, share a little bit of your story. She's nervous as all get out, but I told her don't be nervous. You guys love her, and we love her, and we thank her for being able to share.
I'm 29 years old, and I'm from Saxon, Missouri. Growing up, I had a good mom and a good family, and I was in church and everything, but my dad and stuff was in and out of prison into meth, and instead I wanted to be just like him instead of like my mom, and so I followed his path, and at 18 I was a full-blown IV meth user, and I've been on drugs for 14 years and 12 years with meth. It was hopeless. That was all of my world revolved around was meth, men, and money. And I have 3 kids, and even for them, I couldn't quit drugs. I didn't care. It was all about me. And I've left my kids behind. I gave custody to my mother, and I was pregnant. I couldn't quit doing drugs. I was a very, very selfish human being. And then I hit rock bottom, and I didn't know where else to turn, but, that seed had been planted back when I was younger, and so I cried out to the Lord and asked Him to help me, and I finally could say I'm sober, and that's only by the grace of God. It's not even for my own kids or for myself could I do it. He delivered me from addiction. I'm almost a year sober, and praise God for it.
So see, when you get Jesus, you get your life back, you get your family back, you get your kids back, you get your hope back, you get your joy back, you get your promise back, you get your future back, you get your purpose back, you get your destiny back. I mean, God just turns everything around. Isn't it amazing what He can do? See, there's a scripture that in Psalm chapter 103 and verse 4, we're kind of interrupting that, bless the Lord, O my soul, and all of that passage here, but just to say that Jenna's a perfect example that God redeems your life from destruction. God redeems your life from destruction and crowns you with loving kindness and tender mercies. He's not a God that slaps us around. He's not a God that says, you messed up, you're out of here, you're done with, you're gone, it's over for you, your history. No, He's always coming after us. He's always pursuing us. He's always trying to get us to make that turn towards Him so that He can redeem us from a life of destruction and crown us with loving kindness and tender mercies. Jenna's boyfriend, Dylan the Horn. Everybody give it up to Dylan.
My name is Dylan, from Dexter. I'm 25. I've battled addiction for most of my life. Been drinking since I was 13. Just started off on and off. Just thought it was fun. Everybody liked doing it. And then just the last couple of years, I realized that I had a problem with it. Drinking every day. I lost a lot of stuff. My family. I let down a lot of people, but like Jenna said, by the grace of God, that's the only way I'm sitting here right now today is because of Him. And it's possible for anybody and everybody. You just gotta call upon His name and He'll deliver you. That's all I got.
So, you said 13 years?
Yeah.
13 years of addictions. And when I talked to him the other day, because I'd never met Dylan, when I talked to him the other day, I said, well, what happened? What happened? And he said, when I hit rock bottom, all I knew to do was hit my knees. See, somebody said a long time ago, and I remember, when your back's against the wall, try knees on the floor. Do you hear me? When your back's against the wall, try knees on the floor or knees on the ground. His back was against the wall. His whole world had been taken away from him. His family, wife, home, everything. And he hit the ground. He cried out to Jesus. And from that point on, and you have been sober how many days? 103 days sober. Amen. The psalmist also said in Psalm 40 in verse 2, He also brought me up out of a horrible pit. It's getting there. Out of the miry clay, and set my feet on a rock and established my steps. Every one of these stories here, they were rescued from a horrible pit, from the miry clay, from the clutches of what the world, what bondage, addiction, what alcohol, drugs can do to destroy a person's life. But God rescued every one of them, sent something in their life to interrupt what was happening in their life, so that their feet could be set upon the solid rock, and that solid rock is Jesus Christ. Yes. And established my steps. He has turned me around where my steps are now leading me to the purpose and the plan that He has for their lives. Isn't it amazing? Y'all give it up one more time. It takes a lot of guts to get up here and be open and transparent about some of your stuff, because how many of you know most of us, we like to be left to hide behind our past, our struggle. But it's when we get open and transparent. You see, sometimes God can take any situation and turn it around, and God can make a message out of a mess. And when He does that, then we are able to use our struggle to help somebody else that might be struggling. You know, one of the things that we want to do, and just to hear these testimonies makes me more aware, more keenly aware that we need hope centers right here in Sikeston, Missouri. Amen. We need hope centers right here in Sikeston, Missouri. I know that Jackson has a hope center that is just flourishing, and it's a more recent, it's only been months old, if I remember correctly. But I mean, that place, I talked to somebody the other day, they said it is just booming. It's just incredible. And they could, the stories of Hope Centers and the stories of what God's doing through our Hope Centers across the United States, the fact that we've got a track record of knowing how to bring people into those structured programs, to see them delivered and set free from the bondage of drugs and alcohol and the addictions that can hold them so tightly. It makes me more keenly aware that we need a Hope Center, at least the first Hope Center in Sikeston, Missouri, just as quickly as we possibly can. We plan on starting with a men's Hope Center and then moving into a woman's Hope, or not have them move into a women's Hope Center. That would not be good. We have a men's Hope Center at one location, have a women's Hope Center at another location. We're believing God for a piece of property. We're believing God for a house or something that can be refurbished. It's got to be kind of out away from residential neighborhoods. We're believing for something big enough at least, or have the promise of being able to add on to it, that we could at least get 12 to 15 or so men into a program. Then we can always expand from there and then add a ladies' Hope Center. You responded greatly to the challenge that was put out there by Lori a couple of weeks ago, and we've been able to raise several $100s towards a Hope Center goal that we've got. So thank you for your giving to the Hope Center. I want to just focus just for a few minutes this morning, just to kind of wrap up what all we've heard, what all we've talked about today. And in Mark chapter 5, the scripture tells the story and jumps in the middle of the story. A lot of you will remember this story, but Jesus and the disciples they were on the northern Sea of Galilee, and they were on one side of the sea, had been ministering to people, and Jesus told the disciples, said, let's get in the boat because we need to go to the other side. And so right here we jump into the story. Then they came to the other side of the sea, to the country of the Gadarenes. And when he had come out of the boat, immediately there met him out of the tombs a man with an unclean spirit, who had his dwelling among the tombs. And no one could bind him, not even with chains, because he had often been bound with shackles and chains. And the chains had been pulled apart by him, and the shackles broken in pieces. Neither could anyone tame him. And always, night and day, he was in the mountains and in the tombs, crying out and cutting himself with stones. And when he saw Jesus from afar, he ran and worshipped him. And he cried out with a loud voice and said, what have I to do with you, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? I implore you, by God, that you do not torment me. For he said to him, come out of the man, unclean spirit. Now there's more to that story that I don't want to take time to read, but I can tell you very quickly, and most of you know if you've studied the Bible any length of time or know the rest of the story. But the spirits identified themselves to Jesus in their conversation. And it was determined that this man was bound by 2,000 demons. And they begged Jesus to let them be cast into a herd of swines. You know the story. They were cast into the herd of swines, and the swine, the pigs, and must have been a large herd, and they ran over the cliff and drowned themselves in the sea. But here's a man that was hurting. Here's a demon-possessed man that was bound and so tormented by the forces of darkness that he was nowhere in his right mind. Here's a man that was struggling. He was a man that couldn't help himself. Here was a man that needed deliverance, but he couldn't do anything about it. But Jesus. On one side of the Sea of Galilee, tells his disciples, we've got to go to the other side. Jesus has a sense and knows right where you are, right where we are, and I'm so glad to know that when I'm hurting and when I'm struggling, that he knows right where I am. He knows that I need his help. He knows that I can't make it without him. And just like he did for that demon-possessed man of Gadara, Jesus told the disciples, we got to get in the boat and go to the other side, because somebody needs my help. Jesus is always seeking and searching those that are hurting and broken and damaged and lost. Jesus was intentional about ministry. He was intentional That's why we're so intentional about ministry here at Compassion. That's why we do the things we do. That's why we have the systems and the structures in place. That's why when you pull into the parking lot and you see people out there with Mickey Mouse hands and safety vests and saying good morning and how you doing and opening the doors and serving coffee and donuts and bottled water and friendly smiles and people greeting each other and having the train run around the parking lot so kids can ride it and have a big time and having colorful rooms and having activities and creative things going on back in there for the kids is because we want them to have an experience with Jesus, and we do it intentionally because we're willing to do whatever it takes to get the good news of Jesus Christ, the gospel, to those that are hurting. Amen. We'll go to any extent. Some people wonder, well, why are we so focused on numbers? We're always talking about numbers and growing in numbers. It's not about numbers. Yes, it is about numbers. When you say that it's not about numbers, then you give up on the fact that there are a lot of other people out there that need Jesus Christ. Right now, as we sit here in this room, there are people dying in this region right now. And many of them may be dying and taking their last breath, and they don't know Jesus Christ. So yes, I'm all about getting as big as we possibly can get. Because how many of you know, if you throw a little pebble into the lake, it makes a little ripple. But when you throw a boulder in that thing, it makes a wave that is felt all the way across the lake. I want us to be so big. And yes, I'll keep talking about numbers because I want us to cause a ripple effect of the goodness of God to flow through this region to the point to where everybody in this region knows that this is a place of hope, this is a place of healing, this is a place of restoration, that people can walk in the doors of this place and we don't care what hell they've been through, we don't care how messed up they are, how broken they are, how damaged they are, how hurting they are. There is an answer, and His name is Jesus Christ. How many of you in here with me? I mean, how many in here with me? I'm doing everything I can. I'm doing everything I can because we want to provide hope from this region. We want to let them know it doesn't matter. We love you. He loves you. And they make you all everybody else, but He's got an answer for you. See, they get to the other side. Y'all just have to bear with me. Some of you sophisticated people have to bear with me. I'm sorry. Yes. They get out of the boat. First thing the disciples are come in contact with is this demon-possessed man. I can imagine the reaction that Peter, James, and John must have had when they encountered this dude. I mean, here they see this demon-possessed maniac guy, just nuts, cutting himself, chains couldn't hold him, running around naked in the tombs and naked in the graveyard. I mean, getting really, really, really out there. I can see one of them run back to Jesus and say, Jesus, this dude is cray-cray. He's out of it. We need to get in the boat and go back over to the other side. We ain't messing with this dude, because I mean, this dude messed up. I mean, Jesus, look at him over there. He's over there, this dude. Disciples said, Jesus, this guy messed up. He's beyond hope. And Jesus said, no. I'm here. We came here because we're going to see him set free. We're going to see him loose. We're going to see the shackles and the chains broken off of his life. You see, Jesus saw something in a person that everybody else had given up on. I'll never give up on you. I'll never give up on this region. I'll never give up on people. I'll never give up trying to help the hurting, the broken, the lost, the damaged, the wounded, those that everybody else has pushed aside, pushed out, cast down, cast aside, told that they had no hope and no future, no purpose, no plan. I'm still going to the day I take my last breath. Jeremiah 29:11. I know the thoughts and the plans that I have for you, says the Lord. Plans that are good, plans that are not evil, plans to give you hope and to give you a future. You got a future. Slap your neighbor and tell him you got a future.
You got a future.
And here.
The cameras.
Tell them this. Tell them somewhere in the future. Tell them somewhere in the future.
Somewhere in the future.
You look much better
Lord, I'm glad.
than you look right now. Woo, baby. Oh, yeah. It ain't gonna be long. Oh, yeah. You walking along. Woo. Yeah. How do you like me now? Woo. I've been liberated. I've been set free. I've been changed. My life's been transformed. I used to be an alcoholic, but I'm not an alcoholic anymore. I used to be bound by drugs, but I'm not bound by drugs anymore. I'm set free by the power of a resurrected Lord and Savior. It used to have a hold on me, but it doesn't anymore because I'm so glad Jesus set me free. I'm so glad Jesus set me free. Excuse me. It's my composure again. We're so glad that you decided to join us here today. In this most holy place. It is an honor that you've chosen to spend this hour with us as we study the great things of God. I'm going to get over myself in a minute, I promise. Here's this guy running through the graveyard crying out. He didn't have Facebook, he didn't have Twitter. If he'd had that, he just got on and said, I'm so messed up, I'm so bad, I feel so bad, I'm having such a hard day, it's so difficult, I don't know if I can make it, I don't know if I can keep going on, I don't know. You know, I keep telling y'all, I keep trying to encourage y'all, I'm trying to keep trying to help y'all. Social media, it can be an incredible tool. But I mean, people don't care about how many times you go to the bathroom. They don't care about how many times you broke up. They don't care about how many aches and pains and woes and problems you have. Why can't we start using it to encourage and to build up and to spread hope and the love of Jesus Christ? I mean, just so what if you went to the new restaurant in town and you ate it and you got diarrhea? We don't want to know all that. But what we do want to know is that, hey, we've been made endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. We do want to know I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. We do want to know, yes, in all these things, I'm more than a conqueror through Christ Jesus that loves me. We don't want to know about all your bad experiences. You cried out in the graveyard. It's in the graveyard. The darkest hour. Some of you may be in a graveyard right now. Some of you may be in a dark place right now. That demonic man was in the graveyard, in a dark place, in the tombs, crying out because nobody could help him. Nobody wanted to help him. Nobody cared for him. You may be in your dark hour right now, but I'm here to tell you Jesus knows right where you are, and he'll come find you in that dark place, and he'll provide light that'll bring you out of that darkness. Jesus stopped all the other ministry. He said, I've got to get to the other side. He goes to the other side. He has an encounter with this man. This man realizes who he is, and the scripture said that he literally felt and worshiped him. Because there was something inside this man that knew that this was a man that was sent from God, that this was the Son of God, and this was the only one that could set him free, that could provide hope, that could provide peace, that could liberate him from the chains of darkness. Jesus is the only way out. I said, He is the only way out. And many of you here under the sound of my voice are living testimonies, because if you look back at some of your past, you can say here today, the only reason that I'm here right now is by the goodness and the grace of God. If it had not been for the Lord on my side, tell me, where would I be? I'd be messed up, thrown out. In fact, I probably wouldn't even be alive. But God had a purpose and a plan and a destiny and a hope for me. So sometimes just stop all the whining and mumbling and grumbling and complaining, and just stop and throw your hands up and say, thank you, God, that I'm here today because of your love, because of your grace, because you kept me, because you got me through that struggle and that mess. Am I preaching all right? Mark chapter 5, verse 15. It said, when they came to Jesus, the crowds, and saw the one who had been demon-possessed and that had the legion, the 2,000 devils, sitting and clothed in his right mind, they were afraid. Now, to interpret that Greek word afraid there, it doesn't mean afraid like, ah! It means awe. When they saw Jesus cast those devils out of that man, and they went into the herd of swine, pigs, and they ran off the cliff and died into the ocean and died. And then they saw this man suddenly transformed before their eyes. And the next time they see him, he is sitting clothed and in his right mind. I imagine he was sitting there with his legs crossed. Last time I saw him, he was naked, running through the garden, through the graveyard. They come around the corner, and he is sipping on his latte. Yes, would you like to have a cup with me? Good morning, how are you, sir? Oh, it's such a lovely day out here, isn't it? Yes. And the Bible says they were in awe. Look what the Lord has done. This man, yesterday, I want to give you 2 cents for him. But look at him today, and look at what God has done. The man that everybody wrote off, the man that everybody said doesn't have any hope, the man that everybody said doesn't have any future, the man that said we can't do anything with him, but Jesus said, I can. Yeah. Amen. You may have messed up. You may have done some things. You may be the victim of your own circumstances and bad choices in life. But the main thing is, God did not base His plan for your life on you making perfect decisions. Aren't you grateful? Aren't we grateful that God does not base His plan for our life on our making perfect decisions? Because I've made some messed up ones before in my life, and I'll still make some messed up decisions in my life. But God's plan has nothing to do with the fact that I can't make a good decision sometimes. God has a plan even for our mistakes. And that plan is that He doesn't care how far low you have fallen, how far down you may be, how lost you may be, how broken you may be, how messed up you may be. He says, hey, I can turn that whole thing around. Just like that. Maybe He wants to turn that around for you today. See, maybe some of you have a story, but that story is still being written. Maybe some of you today need to let God start writing the story for you. Maybe you need to let God start rewriting some of the story. See, some of you have gotten maybe to the 2/3 through the book, and man, the story's not looking too good. You need a better outcome than the way it's headed. You need a better story. You need a better ending to this chapter than the way it's headed. You need to let God start rewriting the story of your life. Right now, I want to give you an opportunity to do that. Just a moment, I'm going to pray. I'm going to ask the Lord to do a work in your life. And I always, every Sunday, give you an opportunity to invite Jesus into your heart, making the Lord of your life, making Him number one. Maybe you're here today and Maybe you've been struggling, maybe you've been battling, maybe there's been some decisions and choices made. And maybe you need to just say, God, okay, I'm ready to come clean today. I'm ready to be set free. I'm ready to be totally liberated. I'm ready for you, God, to start writing the story of my life from this point on. That we call surrendering and making a new, fresh recommitment. So either case, and I pray in just a moment, I want to pray for you. I'm not going to embarrass you, I'm not going to call you out, but I just want to pray with you and pray for you. With every head bowed and every eye closed, nobody looking around, anywhere in the building, just everybody being reverent for just a moment. And if you're here today and you say, Frank, I want you to include me in that prayer. Either one or two things. I want to invite Jesus to be my Lord of my life. Or number two, I want to resurrender my life to Him so that He can start writing the story of my life from this point on. If that's you, I just want you to slip up your hand wherever you are. Just slip up your hand wherever you are. Go ahead and do it. Nobody's looking around. Slip up your hand. Yes. 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 Come on, hold them up, hold them up, hold them up. Come on, come on. Some others, come on, come on, some others. And you can say, today, I want Him to start writing the story of my life. Today, from this moment forward, I want Him to write the story of my life. I want to recommit my life to Him. I want to invite Him into my heart to be Lord of my heart, my life. If that's you, come on. 3 more seconds, come on. Just put your hands up. 3 more seconds. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. You can put your hands down. Hands all over the building. Come on. Thank the Lord. Let's pray together. So, dear Jesus, I can't do this by myself. I need your help. Today, I'm asking you to pick up the pen and start writing the story of my life. I invite you into my heart to be my Lord and Savior. Forgive me of my sins. All of my past. I'm committing my life to you. I'm resurrendering everything that I have
to you.
And now, Lord, I belong to you. And you belong to me. I thank you, Lord, that I'm saved. I thank you that you sit on the throne of my heart. And I'm on my way to heaven. And I thank you for that. In Jesus' name. And everybody said, Amen. Now put your hands together.